Hey there, Chitheads, and welcome back to another episode of Board Chitless. I'm Leki, and I'm joined by
Tristan
and Sam.
And this week we've been playing Dark Souls, the card game. Not to be confused with Dark Souls, the miniatures game.
Board game.
The board game from Steamforged Games. Both games are from Steamforged Games. Maybe there'll be some point of confusion. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Someone help me.
This one has cards and no minis. The other one has minis.
Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about the card game, not the board game. It's Dark Souls, the card game.
This one's about Dark Souls. The other one's about Dark Souls.
Oh, well, that explains everything.
No, the other one was about Dark Souls.
Careful how you say that.
Before we start talking about the game that we played today, though, we'll first talk about the Kickstarter campaign for Shadows of Kilforth that Tristan's running at the moment, which is going great guns. How are we getting on there, Tristan?
Yeah, it's great fun. We've had a spectacular start. We've broken all our own little personal records and funded in 42 minutes, which is
amazing.
Which is ace, because obviously the first Gloom of Kilforth game took 27 days to fund. So for us, it's been a real achievement in a couple of years to sort of turn it around as quickly as we have done. We've got an amazing set of supporters, and we're just tootling away throughout March, unlocking loads of stretch goals and stuff. So it's just really cool, fun, exciting times.
Nice.
And we're off to Aircon this weekend, so it's going to get to speak to everyone and show them the games. And we'll actually have stock of 1066 Tears to Many Mothers to sell at Aircon as well. So, although actually, by the time this goes out, I think we'll be back from Aircon. But the sentiment's there.
Yeah. Do you think you'll still have copies of 1066 Tears to Many Mothers to shift afterwards, after Aircon? Do you think they'll all disappear?
Ooh, that's interesting. Ask me
People
next
buy
week.
them from UK Games Expo.
It'd be a shame if I'm carrying home the same amount that I took with me, but hopefully we'll shift one or two.
Is there anything Shadows of Kilforth related going down at Aircon? Have you got any prototypes or anything kind of being
We'll
shown?
hopefully have some cards and stuff to show off. The only tiny issue I have with that is that because they won't be print quality, as they will finally be, I'll have to hold them next to a copy of Gloom of Kilforth and go, these are printed at home and these are printed professionally. So don't get confused and don't be frightened off by these awful prototypes. So we'll probably
Sleeve them.
display lots of sleeves and display some of the art and assets and stuff. But yeah, there'll be loads of fun things to show off.
Well, some of that art is fantastic and poster worthy, so I think it could look pretty
some
cool.
of it, Sam. Some of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Some of it's a bit creepy to be playing in public.
But,
That's true. Some of it's a bit nightmarish.
Whilst we talk about cons, though, we're all going to be at UK Games Expo this year as well, so people can check out the Gloom of Kilforth and see what Shadows of Kilforth might be like as well.
Hopefully. Well, we should have a fully functional copy, fully operational copy of Shadows of Kilforth. In fact, at UK Games Expo, we intend to have Gloom of Kilforth, Live Form, Shadows of Kilforth, 1066 Tears to Many Mothers, and hopefully some other stuff as well to show. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Well, there you go. If you're into your fantasy-based RPG-style adventures, go check out the Shadows of Kilforth Kickstarter page. The link will be in the podcast description.
Awesome.
So go fill your boots. On with the podcast. Dark Souls, the card game from Steamforged Games. It's 1 to 4 players, and it's a strategy. But what is it? What is it?
A deck evolution game.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Deck builder.
So yeah, it's what we were saying to Tristan just before, it's not quite a deck builder, I think, because you're not buying cards all the time. You're buying them at the end of the round, some of the time.
It's also one of the first times I've seen a cooperative deck builder, if we're going to call it that, or deck evolution. Never really seen it quite work, so sharing resources quite so streamlined.
Yeah, it's not like you played the Predator game or anything like that.
It doesn't work the same way.
What Sam's trying to say is
right.
maybe that the cards are literally, when you go out to the bonfire to rest in this game, you have a pool of cards and you talk about who's going to get what cards and what deck.
Whereas in Legendary, it's on your turn, you take what's available.
You're not just grabbing them from the market deck as quickly as possible.
No, so it's a bit more...
Yeah.
In that respect, there's a real discussion about where all the cards should go, and you're like, that massive sword looks cool, but actually it's going to be better in Leki's deck than in mine because he's got the right cards to operate it. And
Whereas
are we jumping in a bit too deep without giving an overview?
I think we are in danger of that. But
scale it back a bit. Yeah.
Let's go back to the start.
What's it about?
So, essentially, if you've not played Dark Souls, the video game, and not wanting to give away any spoilers, I've not played it myself, so I don't think I could. The undead have arisen in the hour of need. I'm reading this off the back of the box. And essentially, there's all these horrible monsters in this terrifying nightmare land. You have to go around destroying one by one, building up to bosses. And then when you've destroyed them all, I imagine there's some sort of reward, such as maybe you can get the hell out of there. I'm not sure. So the Dark Souls card game just kind of follows that theme in where you and your friends are wandering around this horrible nightmare wasteland, initially searching for monsters to destroy, to collect souls, which you then cash in at bonfires to get a bit stronger, buy the aforementioned deck evolution cards to make yourselves a bit stronger, and then try and take out bosses. Usually you get beaten up and minced up a few times, but because we're amazing at all games ever, we actually won our first game as a cooperative. But Tristan says the game is quite a bit harder normally, so I think when you're on your own, there's still quite a challenge, and it was a challenging game. I nearly got wiped out about twice, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think we called the battles at the right moment. It's definitely a push your luck game, just like the video game. And what Steamforged have done with this is similar to what they've done with the board game, with the miniatures and stuff, is capture the essence of Dark Souls, which is you go so far, you push yourself, you try to collect as many souls as you can, and then you have to choose the right moment to go back to the bonfire and cash in what you've got, or keep pressing on and risk losing all of your loot that you've gathered. And I think one of the frustrations for us with the board game is we didn't get as far with it in one session as we could have done. We reached like the mid-boss battle, but we didn't reach the end boss battle in the few times that we played it. And because you have to reset the board each time you go through the same areas, it led to one of the main frustrations with the game, which is that you have to sort of repeat the same things over and over.
Yeah.
But I think because this is much more pared down in the card play, you actually rattle through things a lot faster. And I don't feel the same frustration of travelling through the same area to get to the next stage that with the card game that I did with the board game. So that's cool, and I think they've channeled the theme and the vibe of Dark Souls really well as well, because I'm a late comer to the series. I only played the third Dark Souls video game, shock horror, and I came to it through Bloodborne.
Yeah, you found it.
But it's this really sort of empty, desolate world where there's hardly any NPCs and stuff. You just sort of dropped into it, wandering around by yourself, and occasionally you'll get other people wander into your game and you share the boss battles and things like that. And it really sort of captures that. I think, if anything, it's more cooperative in the card game than you can be in the video game. So the mechanics are quite cool. There's nothing staggeringly new about what it does. Like you'll damage baddies and they've got defense and they reduce your attack by their defense. But the way that it's implemented, I find really neat and really satisfying. Each of the monsters has a specific vulnerability, like to like assassin type attacks or magic attacks or heavy attacks, and each of our characters has one of those as their sort of specialty. So you have to sort of between you work out, okay, here's the next horde of monsters. You know, you're the wizard, Leki. You take out the guys at the back with ranged attacks and their magic vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Sam can tank at the front and heal us up, and hit the guys in the front row. And I'm the sneaky assassin dude, so I'll sort of nip around and kill where I can. Daz was another wizard, wasn't he? You were the pyromancer.
I was the pyromancer. Yeah, he was a sorcerer. It was very interesting. Two wizards and two fighty dudes. You were
two wizards,
assassin.
but you both played quite differently from what I could see. You had different specialities and.
Yeah, the pyromancer starts off with a lot more melee, so you basically got some axes and sort of like weaker fire spells, whereas the sorcerer's just got loads of these like soul
arrows
bolts or soul arrows. Yeah, and he's a lot more effective at range. Whereas the pyromancer is a bit more of a sort of like jack of all trades. But it was good fun. What I did find though with this game, like all deck builders, is you've really got to manage what's in that deck. Towards the end, my deck was just horribly bloated, and there's a few times when I just drew out nothing but stamina, mulliganed, and then drew out nothing but stamina again, and that was me. And
so the stamina cards are what power your attack cards and your defense cards and stuff like that. So you've got armor, you've got weapons, you've got spells, but you've also got stamina cards, and you use those and basically symbol matching to power whatever your armor is or your spell attack. You'll need a different kind of stamina.
That's it. And when you upgrade, then you can get better weapons, but you can also trade in souls for better stamina cards. So you'll trade up a single stamina card for one that's got 2 on it, or one where you've got the option to use either symbol. So you can really make your deck a lot more efficient. I just didn't quite make it efficient enough, or I didn't get enough weapons in there, or I just didn't really split clumps and shuffle well enough. But it happens with deck builders, and it's good because it's a secondary puzzle, really, isn't it? It's how do you keep your character interesting and hard.
There's a cap on this as well, because each time you go to the bonfire to rest, your deck goes up by 3 cards exactly. So you can potentially take out some rubbish cards as long as you've got enough good cards coming in to bulk out your deck.
Yeah.
So it's this weird sort of very mathematical leveling process where you all sort of move forward at the same time. And unless one of you was to just go, I'm going to get all the good cards in my deck, which it couldn't really happen. You're all sort of advancing at the same pace.
That's it.
So maybe every other bonfire you might go, do you know what? You guys take the big cards this turn, get the 5-point stamina cards, and I'll take the lower ones, knowing that at the next bonfire, I can jump up and take the big cards and the cool swords, and you guys will have to sort of step back and take like the lesser cards to sort of make up for it.
Yeah, maybe
the only problem with that is it depends on what comes out.
Yeah.
So I noticed the early game, there was quite a few things that came out that was suited to my character. It's like some maces and hammers and stuff. So I was able to take those early on. But then towards the end, I was just like, it's all spells coming out, or it's all specialist for the assassin stuff. So I wasn't able to then jump into that. So that's when I was taking the back seat. So it became a bit of a puzzle in itself, that I didn't want to fall behind, but also I didn't want to take the stuff from who needed it.
Yeah, similarly, at the start, there was nothing for the assassin. So I was just like, it's actually better for me and for the team if you guys take the big cards and the cool stuff, and I'll just sit this one out until anything comes up for me. And then, sure enough, by the third bonfire, it was all like my gear. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the cool big, Tamagotchi sword or whatever it was.
all the purples and greens.
All the purples and blues, I think it was.
Yeah.
Whatever those symbols meant. Sneaky and stamina-y.
Yeah, it was good. And then also the deck represents your health as well. So if you draw down to 0 cards when you need to draw up, that's it, you're done. You die and you end up back at the bonfire and you lose all the loot that you've picked up, which didn't happen to us because we had a great time.
You had a great healer.
It does happen. Yeah, actually, you were very good with the healing.
Wasn't I?
Throwing people cards when they needed them.
Well, I genuinely found that all the characters felt very differently. I know you and Daz were more similar, but Tristan, you're assassin to my herald, which I wasn't sure what a herald was. Basically, it turned out like a paladin healer. But it felt very different, the playstyle. So I was trying to tank. I was trying to get where the damage was going all the time, because I had the armor to soak it up. And then I was able to throw out the healing to everyone else. Yeah,
you were definitely a front row character getting into the thick of it with Leki and Daz hanging back, flinging spells.
Yeah.
And I was sort of nipping backwards and forwards, trying to avoid attacks.
We were swapping a lot, weren't we?
Yeah. Well, that was a great thing because of the way that it scales. Certainly with the bosses, but also just with the regular dudes, as they get tougher and tougher and they've got more health to get rid of, you very much have to collaborate about, well, I can soften this guy up, but I'm going to need you to come in and finish him off, or vice versa. And between you, you're like, well, I've got sharp damage this turn, and he's weak to that. So, if you get over his armor and hit him for 1, then I can jump in and, decapitate him and stuff. So the cooperation in this actually proved to be pretty special. And there's enough of the leaning on other people to hope that they come up with something cool on their turn without sort of having the... I mean, I guess you'd have to play it a lot to grok it, but without the sort of alpha game syndrome of this is obviously the best thing to do. I think there was a couple of times where people helped each other out by saying,
completely.
Don't forget you can use that stamina there to keep your armor in hand. You don't have to discard it and things like that. But on the whole... everyone was sort of autonomously taking their turns, whilst also trying to figure out the best way to sort of help each other, to the point where when it came to the final boss, to be fair, we were playing against the easiest bosses, but against Pontiff Sullivan, we just rinsed him.
Yeah. Well, we really knew what we were doing at that point in terms of moving around the board. Because like the sort of the play area, it's broken down into two sections. You've got the enemy area, which is 6 slots, and then the sort of your area, which is 6 slots, and you can have a forward row and a backward row. Cards can block other cards, so if your friend's in front of you, you've not got ranged attack, then you can't stab through them. So there's a few nice little mechanics there, but you can also move and take an action, which means you can either move into an open space or you can swap spaces with a mate. So we're having these really interesting goes where like Tristan would attack a monster and then his go would end, so he'd swap places with Sam, who'd then attack the same monster, and you'd get these sort of little combos coming out, which is very nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit Darkest Dungeon with trying to work out the best place for everybody to be in the right position to make the best possible attacks, and also the little randomness of setting up your party position before you go into a location, and then all the baddies come out and attack you, and you have to sort of survive the first wave before you can hit back, but you never know where they're going to be attacking in the first round. So there's enough of variety in that, and the setup, the encounter setups, there's loads of cards. I mean, we had the expansion shuffled in with this one. It being a nice card game, obviously had to get the expansion as well. But so it meant there's tons of variety in the treasures, the monsters, but the encounter setups, you only draw like 5 cards per game, and there's like 30 or 40 different encounter setups, which are what tell you which monsters come out when you go into a location. So the sort of the replayability and the setup and stuff feels quite nice, and you also get other stuff like terrain and traps and stuff, which we didn't even come across in the game that we played tonight. But the other thing you're supposed to do is reshuffle the monsters whenever you clear a encounter, whereas I was just leaving them in the discard pile so we get more variety, and it really helped because again you just get loads of new stuff. Yeah,
and some of the monsters are brutal as well. Yeah. It's like you've got the nice easy monsters, which can still kind of hurt you, then the sort of like middling monsters, and then just horrible 3
levels of encounters in there, and it's a mishmash of what you get. You either get loads of small baddies if you go into a higher level location, or you get like a few tough mini bosses sort of thing, and they can really pack a punch, can't they?
Yeah, and they're all tooled up differently as well. So like they'll all have completely different weaknesses, but then completely different sort of like shield to smash ratios. So there's a couple of times when my pyromancer would just be quite ineffective because an enemy would have like free shield, free defense, and then like 4 health. So it's like, well, I can't really even chip away at this. So what else can I do?
I think we all went through that, but that's where the working out the perfect combinations for the perfect bosses, their weaknesses, really paid off.
Yeah.
So it's turning to your peers and going, you the guy with the pointy end? And then encouraging them to step up, or even like passing through the deck a lot of the time. That was a couple of times where Tristan was desperately trying to find, because he was the only one that had the card that could do the damage to kill the thing. So it was like just letting him just go through his deck, and I was trying to heal him to keep him in the game whilst he was discarding his entire deck, whilst everyone else was just sort of sitting around waiting. So it got a little bit spammy, that bit, but it did sort of cater for that whole, there is only one way to do this.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be more of a puzzle aspect, but
yeah, I think that was a bit early on before we had like the right sort of tools to deal with the job, wasn't it? And then one particularly tough dude came out, so to overcome his armor, we had to find that weakness. And I think, like you say, I was the only person with the precise card or whatever it was to whack him.
But then, like you're saying, some treasure drops, which there was like some interesting treasure, because there was like, big swords, big sort of bows and arrows and stuff. But then a few like, sharpened gems. So they wouldn't actually cause much damage themselves, but they turn your attacks into like precise damage or melee damage when you're actually magical, which just helps you get through those defenses. It's really nice little mechanics on the play, and they were just cards, but they all had, a lot of them had like these little sort of special conditions, which seemed quite nice. There's lots of most cards had 2 abilities, so you could spend some stamina to use it and then keep it in your hand, or spend a bit more stamina, a bit less, and then use it for usually a higher payoff and then discard it. So it was nice. So you're always thinking, do I do the big attack and lose this quite nice weapon, hope another one comes out, or do I just keep doing the little tiny attacks?
Poking.
Always poking. Always jabbing.
That was I had the spear, and in my head it was jab them with the spear or throw the spear at them type thing. Just for thematic sake.
Definitely. So the pyromancer was like set them on fire or just set everything on fire.
set yourself on fire and hug them.
Yeah. And there were some nice rules as well. Like we could never really get enough monsters in one column to really do it. But if I used my pyromancer spell, it would attack each of the monsters in the column. But you were guys were always killing them too quickly, or they'd just be on their own when I was in a corner.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. There's been worse complaints about you, Sam, but it's a really fun game. We enjoyed it, and also the artwork's amazing. It's not video game sort of screenshots which you sometimes get. Instead, it looks like concept artwork or
inspired by the game, or inspiring of the game and stuff.
Yeah, and it's horrible in the nicest possible way.
Yeah,
it's all like really like sort of like gothic horror.
Yeah, and if you played the video game as well, some of them come up and you're like, oh god, not this guy, and then sure enough, it'll have like a really horrible ability to match and that.
Yeah,
and each boss has their own attack deck, like in the Dark Souls board game.
Yeah,
so they have a fairly unpredictable sequence of attacks that they'll play each turn, which is nice because they jump around the board and target different areas and do different effects like frostbite and bleeding and poison and stuff like that. So even fighting the same boss, you'll get a different experience each time as well. It's a nice little touch.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the boss battles because of that. Because it compared to the sort of like minion monsters that you encounter in the rest of the game, that they're fairly static. They'll sit there. Sometimes they'll push you around. It was nice to just see the monsters, the boss monsters, move around, but also like got much different attacks and areas of attacks as well. And there was a couple of monsters as well that sort of had areas of effect rather than like having one particular area that would get damaged. They'd like do the entire back row, the entire front row. And it seemed a bit scary really. I think at one point Daz tried to move out of the way so in a nice safe spot, and a monster came out that just completely mullered him from like 4 different directions.
Yeah, and at that point you've got to really protect that person and find ways, like Sam found a way to sort of swap him out of position and take the damage for him. Otherwise, we would have lost the fight. And there's a few points where it came to that moment where you're just like, okay, we're definitely going to die here. And oh no, hang on, we've got a way of sort of swinging this back. And each hero has their own character ability on the hero card as well, so you can flip that over to do. I think yours was healing Sam, and yours was mega power one of your spells, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like add 2 magic damage or something.
Yeah, I had a backstab ability, which is literally just do 1 point of damage, avoiding armor, which seemed useless when we first started the game, but actually each encounter there'd be at least one dude who has 1 health but high armor, and I'm like, oh, I can just totally kill this guy instantly. This is cool. So all of those felt useful and always got used, and I think Daz's was similar, like he could pay for a spell for free once per encounter as well. Yeah, just nice little extra things that made, because the decks themselves make the heroes feel very different, but then the abilities just add that little icing on the cake as well, which gives you even more flexibility.
And then with the market sort of mechanics, you can buy in new stamina fairly easily. So at one point, like there was nothing really that seemed like, obviously for my character, like there was no real melee like smashy icon weapons coming out. So I was like, sack it, I'm just going to go for something else. So I started buying the blue hand staminas, which meant that I could, when I did pick up the sort of like cast off weapons that no one else wanted, they did every now and again come in handy. Whereas Sam, you just decided to go double down on the specialist.
Yeah, so I just went for the 2 colours that I started off with, and I just discarded everything else to get those, which meant that every time I was pulling out a weapon or an armour, I was able to power it up, but it did limit the gear that I could take. Yeah. So I was highly specialised in what I was doing, but it restricted me later on, especially when some of the other cool stuff was coming out. I was like, well, I just can't use it at all. It's redundant.
It could be a bit frustrating. You see someone polishing off their brand new katana and you're just like, okay, I'll take this tin hat.
Well, I ended up taking like the sharp stones and the green bush healing. I was like, well, I'm a support role anyway. I may as well just keep going with this now.
That's a little bit like the game, though. I remember with Dark Souls, you can get a suit of armor right at the start, and you just have it for the whole game because nothing you get is much better. Yeah, like occasionally you'll sort of level it up, kind of thing. And So there's a little bit of that in this, but actually I think if you do build your deck correctly and get the right weapons, like you were doing, like focusing on those, when it comes to the boss battles and stuff, you're like, I can knock out 4 or 5 damage a round, which is actually really high. So I found that really satisfying, and it was, I think it was a lot more fun with 4 players as well, because I played it a few times solo, but your options are a lot more limited and it's a lot harder. But with 4 players, the cooperation's quite intense. Wrong word. Prolific. Lots of cooperation. Lots of chat.
A lot more going on. There's more monsters come out, and they're a lot harder to kill.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's more loot dropping.
And everyone can kind of do something. There will be turns where you're like spamming through for stamina or for attack cards and stuff, but everyone can come up with the goods and do something cool in almost every encounter, I think.
But by the end of the game, there was one encounter towards the end of the game where I was drawing stamina up until like the final round, and then I managed to get a hit in.
Yeah. You need to learn how to shuffle.
I do need to learn how to shuffle. I split the clump, so I thought I did. I must have shuffled them all back to where they were.
When we say like split the clumps, do you put the colours together?
Yeah. You put them all together
and then cut the deck.
Put the weapons at the bottom and then play.
That's pretty much exactly how it played out.
No, totally. At the end of the day, it's a card game, isn't it? It's like there's an element of luck to what you're drawing. Sometimes it's going to be more frustrating than other times.
It did go long, I will say that. We took
about
3 hours. It says 60 minutes on the box.
That's got to be 60 minutes per player. Or
60 minutes per encounter or something.
Yeah, or you basically, if you don't talk to your mates whilst you're playing it and you just telepathically communicate with each other exactly what you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
And play Speed Dark Souls, the card game. You could maybe get it in under 60 minutes.
Yeah, it was the only game we played this evening, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like we spent a little bit of time like learning rules, but it didn't take that long.
Yeah, no, I think we jumped into it pretty quick, and sort of there's enough familiar stuff here, I think, for us to all just get up and running.
Yeah, the mechanics themselves, there's nothing massively groundbreaking, but it's what, like you said before, it's the way it's all implemented. It's very efficient and it's very nicely done.
It's very little to front load. Game.
Yeah, and the box, how much expansion content in there is there? Because the box is hella heavy. Considering the size of it, I mean, it's not a massive box.
Yeah, it's a small box, but it's stuffed.
The size of a copy of Scrabble.
It's just cards, isn't it? And there's a couple of tokens. There's probably not enough tokens. We definitely ran out of soul tokens for the amount of killing that we were doing. So I was using damage tokens halfway through the game. Once you've got the expansion content shuffled in, it's nice and heavy and just feels like it's got the value and stuff in there. Because with the expansion, there's like 6 different characters to play as. There's 6 or 8 bosses. Each boss has its own card deck. There's a huge treasure deck. There's different levels of monster decks. There's encounter decks. There's just loads of cards. And there's those like 3 or 4 battle boards where you place the monsters and the encounters and the goodies and stuff. It's a nice package. It's very dark. It just matches the theme. And all the cards are black backed. And some of the art is quite dark and everything, but that's what Dark Souls.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Some of the graphic design leaves a little bit to be desired. I know Daz at one point said like one of the area of effect icons. He said that looks like it's come straight out of clip art, but then the rest of it, it's, like the stamina icons as well. They're fairly basic, but at the same time, you know exactly what they are without really looking at them.
And again, I think they're probably taken from the video game iconography. Yeah. So it all kind of maps up.
Oh, totally. It's like Steamforged Games have done a really good job at taking some video game IPs like Resident Evil 2 and making some really interesting games out of them. It's their second stab at Dark Souls. They've got the board game previously. Yeah. Dark Souls, the card game. It'd be interesting to see what they do in the future with like Horizon Zero Dawn and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
No, I'm happy with this. Happy to play it again as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would recommend. Excellent. So Dark Souls, the card game. Steamforged Games. Check it out if you can. Before we go, we'll just have another little call to action. If people can please keep leaving iTunes reviews for us. We've got a lovely person from America left us a review. Pisak said that the podcast has some awesome content. So thanks very much, mate.
Lovely.
That's great to hear. Yeah. And the rankings, we've moved down the rankings a little bit in the poll. We're now at like 85th. I think we've had like 2 listens. Ever.
Nepal, come back to us.
Come back to us, Nepal. Don't make me get that billboard. But we're also now ranking in Chile. So thank you very much, Chilean friends.
Chile.
Or Chilean. Also, tell your friends to listen to us if we haven't offended you. If anything we can do to keep growing the audience and make this a bit like, basically, it's a nice little hobby for us and it's great that people listen. So thank you very much. Please encourage your friends to also have a crack at it. And that's it. We'll see you very soon after playing more games. And Tristan's got over his aircon, sore throat from talking to so many people.
I've got one in France, I think, this week. It's the first time that's happened.
Excellent. I'm rambling so hard. Let's say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.